The NFC East is always one of the most controversial divisions in all of football, and I don't think this positional tier list is going to be any different. We already did all the divisions in the AFC. Those are live now on the channel. Let's hop into the NFC East. And we're starting off with controversy already, hot takes already. I get it. We are starting with the quarterback position, and yes, I will still be the guy to say that I will take Jalen Hurts over any quarterback in this division. I think that a lot of the Jalen Hurts hate and discourse this offseason has gone a bit too far. We are 2 seasons removed from this guy being Super Bowl MVP. Super Bowl MVP Jalen Hurts. There isn't another quarterback in this division that can say he has made it to a Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts has made it to 2 and has won 1, winning a Super Bowl MVP. And if the defense could have stopped a simple motion from Sky Moore or Kadarius Toney in the second half, Jalen Hurts would have 2 Super Bowl MVPs. That's how damn well he has played in the biggest of stages. Jalen Hurts continues to be a playoff riser. Is his number statistically as impressive as some other quarterbacks in the NFL? No, it's not. This is a run-first offense, and that is how the Eagles have operated, and especially the last 2 years, the Eagles' philosophy has been, if we don't turn the ball over and we play conservative, we have enough talent to beat you. And, you know, while I don't love it so much as a viewer, you can't deny that it has led to results for this team, as they have been consistently a double-digit win team. They haven't missed the playoffs in the Jalen Hurts starting quarterback era from the start of a season to an end of a season. A guy knows how to win. And I know that to some people, oh, winning, blah, 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 not a quarterback stat. If that's not for you, sorry, you're on the wrong channel, man. I respect winning. And I know this is crazy to some. I'm taking Jayden Daniels too. I think Jayden Daniels' ceiling is still a top 5 quarterback in football. Is he going to reach that ceiling again, or was his rookie season forever his best season? I don't know. But as we head into year 3 of Jayden Daniels' career, I have a 1-season sample where you could argue in that particular season, he was a top 6 quarterback in the NFL. He has great mobility, an ability to throw the ball anywhere on the field, and a true poise as a leader of an offense to elevate a team. The Washington Commanders, his rookie season, were not meant to be good. They weren't. They won 12 games and went to an NFC championship, mostly on the back of Jayden Daniels being that dude. And again, just like I said for Jalen Hurts, last year was a down year, for sure. But I'm not going to forget what I saw the year prior. Jayden Daniels was banged up a ton last year, and even when he played, he wasn't that amazing. So if you want to ding him, I do get it. However, his ceiling is increasingly high, and we've seen him perform at a high level in the playoffs. And I'm going to put Dak at 3, and then, of course, I'll be putting Dart at 4 here. Listen, this is not meant to be Dak hate. If you're a Cowboys fan and you're like, dude, you're doing my guy Dak dirty, I get it, man. If I was a Cowboys fan, I'd probably feel the same way. I do think the 3 rankings of the top 3 quarterbacks in this division is fluid. And I do think that this year can dictate a lot for that. Here's what I will say, though. In defense of Jalen, at 1 ahead of Dak, Jalen's performed consistently in the playoffs. And, you know, you hear a lot of Jalen Hurts has a lot to prove. I would argue of the 4 quarterbacks in this division now that we have it up here, Jalen Hurts, Jayden Daniels, Dak Prescott, Jackson Dart, Jalen Hurts has the least to prove. Jayden Daniels has to prove that his rookie season wasn't a fluke. If Jayden Daniels repeats what he did in 2025 and 2026, the chatter's going to get loud. If Dak Prescott continues to be a good regular season quarterback that either A, doesn't make the playoffs, or B, when he gets there, can't perform, the chatter is going to be loud. And Jackson Dart, now that the Giants have kind of put all their chips on the table on him, and people are predicting this team to be a playoff team, if he can't get them there, the chatter is going to be there. If Jalen Hurts has another essential Jalen Hurts down season where the Eagles win 11 games and they're bounced in the first round of the playoffs, he'll still have been a Super Bowl MVP. I believe this is a fair ranking. And again, you could clearly tell that I'm a quarterback wins guy. You know, we grade quarterbacks based on who wins, the best quarterbacks in the league. You ask anybody of the top 3 of the last half decade, and it's Mahomes, Lamar, and Josh Allen in whatever order. It's no surprise that those guys have won a crap ton of games because they're really good. So I still value quarterback wins. If you don't like it, I don't know. Like, we're just not going to see eye to eye, you know? Moving on to the running back position, I think that this is like a pretty obvious positional tier list here. Number one, I'm still going Philly. Saquon Barkley is still one of the best running backs in football. Obviously, his 2024 campaign was a historic campaign. He did not follow that up in 2025, but it was still a really solid year, and it was better than any other running back in this division. And then in terms of just pure athleticism, what Saquon Barkley brings to the table is just unmatched in terms of speed, strength, and just an ability as a runner. The Saquon spin move and his jump cuts are still he's just a far superior running back to anybody in this division. It's no shade particularly, but Saquon is an elite back, and there isn't another elite back here. I'll take Javonte Williams over Scat Pack right now, and then whatever Washington's got going on with Bill Krosky, Merritt, and Rashad White. I thought Javonte Williams was actually one of the more underrated running backs in football for a long time. I really did believe in him when he was in Denver, and then it never fully panned out, and I kind of simmered down a little bit on him, but what he did in Dallas last year was uber impressive. That's why the Cowboys brought him back. He really did make their offense two-dimensional, and after a year in which Tony Pollard was supposed to take the keys and be the guy, and he didn't live up to expectations, I thought Javonte Williams certainly outperformed his. Scat Pack, Scatabo, I think he's just becoming a little bit overrated because, like, he's a cool dude, and I like Scat Pack. Like, who doesn't like Scat Pack? Cool guy, but, like, as a running back, he's just kind of average. And then Tyrone Tracy's a decent receiving back. They got Singletary there as well, and I don't know what they're doing in Washington. A big concern that I have for the Commanders this year, and we'll continue to talk about it, is like the lack of pieces around Jaden Daniels. And in terms of a rushing game, it's Rashad White, it's Bill Krosky Merritt. I think they got Jerome Ford there now as well. Like, it's just not a great running back room. It's not something that inspires me. It's not something I'm excited for. It's probably a bottom 5 RB room in all of football. And yeah, it's last on this positional tier list. Going to the wide receiver spot, I am approaching this as if A.J. Brown is not on the team. And to be completely honest, if A.J. Brown was on the Eagles, it'd probably still be the same way. Give me Dallas 1, Philly 2. Dallas, you could argue, has the best wide receiver duo in football. At least they did last season with George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. Who's the number one there? I still think it's CeeDee Lamb. I think CeeDee Lamb is still a superior wide receiver to George Pickens, but George Pickens had a really good season last year, and you can't deny that the Cowboys have 2 legit wide receiver 1 options, and those guys pair really well together. CeeDee Lamb can kill you from the slot across the middle, and Pickens is, your 50-50 jump ball guy who can get up and really get the ball, over a defender, good red zone threat. It can also kill you deep. I mean, so can CeeDee. Like, these guys are fantastic athletes at their position. In terms of wide receiver 3, I thought Flournoy did come along last year. Not that I'd brag a ton about Ryan Flournoy being my wide receiver 3, but I do think that when you're pairing a guy with Lamb and Pickens, like, it's solid to have good rookie play. For Philly, I'm assuming A.J. Brown's going to be traded, so when I look at this wide receiver room, I do think Devonta Smith is ready to be a wide receiver 1. He's probably been ready to be a wide receiver 1. That's just kind of the luxury that the Eagles have added, similar to what I just talked about with the Cowboys. And you have 2 wide receiver 1s, somebody take a step back, and they're the 2. Smitty was often in that position when it came to A.J. Brown because of his skill set, but I think Devonta Smith can really kill you in any spot. An excellent route runner. They drafted Mekhi Lemon high overall in this past draft, pick 20, and I think he's just going to be an absolute dog. He was my wide receiver 1 going into the draft, and then they got guys like Dontavian Wicks, Hollywood Brown on this roster, so it's a deep room as well, but I think it is solid at the top. Then I'm going to go with the Giants and then the Commanders. Malik Neighbors, his knee injury does concern me, that's for sure. But when he's at his best, I do think he's got an argument to be a top 10 guy in the sport. I think Malik is super explosive, real down the field threat, can win 50-50 balls, and is just one of those really explosive LSU wide receivers. Outside of him, I don't love what the Giants have. Like, they have enough guys that I think somebody will step up to be a valuable wide receiver 2 on any given day, whether it's Darnell Mooney, whether it's Calvin Austin, whether it's Darius Slayton. But without Malik Neighbors, that wide receiver room does look pretty dry in terms of what you would expect them to be. And I don't know what kind of Neighbors we're getting back, because there was apparently a setback with his injury already. And then for the Commanders, it's really Terry McLaurin, and that's about it right now. You think that they're going to get Brandon Ayuk back in this system, or back to this system, playing again with Jaden Daniels, and that could happen. And don't get me wrong, like, that could be really interesting. And if Ayuk gets back to who he was all those years ago, then maybe we're having a conversation about the Commanders being one of the better wide receiver duos in football. But expecting Brandon Ayuk to get back to the level of play that he was, what I mean, we're talking 2, 3 years ago now, 3 years ago now when they made that Super Bowl run, San Francisco, for a guy who hasn't been playing and has obviously had a ton of off the field issues. I think that's a lot to ask of, and he's not even on the team, so I'm not even including him in this rankings. I do like the Antonio Williams pick, but we'll see what kind of upside that brings in totality. Give me Dallas 1, Philly 2, the Giants 3, and the Commanders 4 for wide receivers. In the tight end spot, give me Philly number 1 with Dallas Goedert and Eli Stowers now as the tight end room. I thought Goddard had a career year last year. The man was scoring a touchdown, it felt like, every single week, and he's actually been one of the core parts of this Philadelphia Eagles offense, who's been a pretty constant producer for them year after year. Stowers, I love him as a prospect. I think he's a really, really good receiving threat tight end. Would like to see him develop more as a blocker, but we'll see if he gets there. Number 2, I'm going to go with the Giants, man. Isaiah Likely, a big-time vertical threat. I think there's a reason Harbaugh brought him in. I think there's a reason Harbaugh gave him that money. And if Malik Neighbors isn't going to be playing to open the season, Likely is going to be a guy that they're pretty dependent on. We'll go Dallas here at 3. I'm a big fan of Ferguson, and they got some solid backup tight ends there. Schoonamaker, I think, is a pretty solid piece. And then the Commanders 4 with Chig Okonkwo. I like Chig, but the stuff with Chig is just more kind of in theory at this point than in actual production. We saw flashes in Tennessee from time to time, and maybe now in Washington with a better quarterback in Jaden Daniels, we can see some of that more consistently. And if we see it, I'd be happy to move him up this list in the future. But for right now, I'll go the Goddard-Stowers combination. Likely over Ferguson, and then Ferguson over Chig. We move to offensive line, man. I'm still going to give the edge to Philly over Dallas in this particular spot. The tackle duo of Mailata and Lane Johnson definitely carries here. Dallas has a pretty solid offensive line. I do question a little bit them at right tackle, but I question Philly a little bit at right guard as well with Steen. So, it comes down to positional value there. Right tackle, to me, still a more valuable position than right guard. I thought Philly's offensive line last year was banged up for a lot of the season, and they didn't reach their full potential. But again, you go back to just 2 years ago, it was still one of the top 5 offensive lines in football. I'm not saying that they're for sure going to get back to that because it is an aging offensive line, but I do think they're just a slightly better position than Dallas right now. If you wanted to flip these two, I don't think I'd have a real problem with it. It's more of like a 1A, 1B situation here. And then I'm going to go Washington over the Giants here. Again, really close. I loved the Giants pick of Maui Noah, but again, when you look at the tackle duo in Washington of Laremy Tunsil and Josh Connerly Jr., I do really like that. They did lose their center this offseason in Washington, so the interior of the offensive line is a little bit in flux, but the tackle duo being held down there, I like Andrew Thomas. Doesn't really stay healthy a lot for the Giants. Evan Neal, another interesting piece there. Again, if you really wanted to flip-flop those two, I don't think I'd have a huge problem with it, but I'm going to give the slight lean to Washington because of that tackle duo and because out of all those teams, Laremy Tunsil is the best tackle between the Giants and the Commanders. Hell, you could probably even throw the Cowboys in there. We go to defense, and it's a pretty clear-cut tier order to me. I'm going to go Philly 1, Dallas 2, the Giants 3, and the Commanders 4, man. And it feels like that's been a pretty consistent order here. 3 of our 6 have kind of followed that exact order. Philly last year, I thought, had a top 5 defense in football. They were just asked to do way too much, but I thought it was a Super Bowl caliber defense, man. 2 years ago, they obviously won the Super Bowl, and the defense was really stout then. They had Milton Williams and Josh Sweat. This past year, they lose guys like that, and they had to find their way. But once they got Jalen Phillips at the deadline, they were really solid. They don't have him now, but they have Jonathan Grenard on this defensive line. You still have guys like Jalix Hunt, Jalen Carter. You have Nolan Smith. You have Jordan Davis. In that, back end, you have Zach Bond. You have Jahad Campbell. You have Cooper DeJean. You have Quinyon Mitchell. You bring in Arik Woolen, who I thought was a really big signing. The safety position kind of in flux with Marcus Epps and Andrew Makuba, but I still think this is one of the better defenses in football. Dallas, you guys that have been around the channel know that I love their defensive line as we head into next season. Quinnen Williams, Rashawn Gary, Kenny Clark, Ezra Raku, Malachi Lawrence. I think that's really solid, but I do think there is some work to do on that back end. Caleb Downs at 11 was an absolute freaking steal for this team, and I think his future is all pro caliber safety, but the cornerback room, it's a lot of question marks and guys that we got to see prove it, like a Chavon Ravel. Deron Bland's got to prove that he could stay healthy, but again, the potential is certainly there for Dallas's defense. The Giants, they have a lot of big name guys too. Their run defense just feels like a real concern to me. And with Dallas, I think you can throw on them, but I don't think it's as consistent as the way you can run on the Giants, which is why I put Dallas above the Giants here. We'll see what Arvell Reese turns into. He's one of the more interesting players, and maybe alone the Arvell Reese addition, if he pans out to his best version of himself, could put the Giants much higher on this list. Especially when you factor in they have Brian Burns and Abdul Carter. He's just got to step up. Like the Giants are a defense of a lot of potential, but right now I'm in the business of ranking what we know. And what we know is enough to have them over Washington, who I think it's Sonny Styles out there and a bunch of dudes. Their cornerback room is a little underrated. I like Trey Amos. I like Mike Sanders still, but the Commanders have a lot of work to do on this roster as a whole, which like you could see from this tier list. So give me the Giants in their potential over Washington. And then we move into coaching, which this is obviously one of the more subjective areas. And it was a really tough spot for me to go in terms of ranking these coaches here. I'm going to still give the nod to Harbaugh. I'll go Harbaugh, I'll go Sirianni, I'll go Schottenheimer, I'll go Quinn. I don't feel great about it. If I'm being honest, this coaching thing, I kind of went back and forth a lot of different ways. You guys know that I'm not a massive John Harbaugh fan, but some of the proof is in the pudding of what he has done throughout his career. However, in recent memory, in like the last half decade, some of his teams haven't lived up to expectation, but it's so tough for me to bank on a Nick Sirianni to be just consistently better than him when I feel like a lot of the Eagles' success does go to Howie Roseman and does go to the roster of players. And again, I give a lot of credit to Jalen Hurts, and I think if I'm giving a lot of the credit to Jalen Hurts, I can't also give a lot of the credit to Nick Sirianni in that same breath. Schottenheimer, I thought, had a really good year one, but when you factor in Sirianni's got Vic Fangio at defensive coordinator and Mannion now, who is a pretty exciting offensive coordinator piece, and we've only seen Schottenheimer do it for one season, I'm going to give the edge to the Eagles coaching staff as a whole there, and then Washington in fourth. Personally, I don't think Dan Quinn's the guy. I think Dan Quinn's a really solid defensive coordinator and had some good years in Dallas, but it seems like when he takes over as the head coach for a team, they just... I don't know if it's him or if it's the roster construction itself. I don't know how much say he has in that, but aside from Jaden Daniels' rookie year, I just don't feel like he has coached a team up to expectation, and I feel like his team has always been kind of third or fourth in the division. Again, I think that this coaching tier is very fluid, and I think by the time we come to this next year, one, if Dallas performs again and gets even better, Schottenheimer could be number one. But I also think it's possible, like, if Philly gets to a third Super Bowl in 5 years, I do think we have to talk about Nick Sirianni as a top 10 coach in football. And I know that people don't like him necessarily, but at the end of the day, 3 Super Bowls in 5 years would be kind of undeniable. And, Sirianni hasn't had a losing season as a head coach either. Again, right now, especially coming off of last year, I think it's okay to ding him a little bit to a legend like John Harbaugh, but I think it's a lot closer than people might be willing to say. As a reminder, these are just my tiers. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'm pretty prepared for the quarterback rankings to cause a stir. I know that there's people that are going to have Dak one, and there's people that are going to have Jalen one. I know there's going to be some people probably that have Jaden one. It's a tough quarterback ranking, and it really is just kind of your flavor at this point in time. Again, to me, the winning is undeniable, and Jalen has won consistently at a much higher level than the other 2 quarterbacks behind him. And again, I correlate wins to the quarterback play. If you don't, we're probably just not going to see eye to eye on a lot of stuff, but I appreciate you checking out the video. If you guys liked what you saw, hit that subscribe button. We are really creeping in on 700 subs. Would love to get there ASAP. If you are subbed, hit the thumbs up, man. It's good for the channel. So I will catch you guys next time. Peace.